This mahogany chart case from Her Majesty's yacht, Victoria and Albert II, contains 284 Admiralty charts covering the entire globe, demonstrating the British Admiralty's mastery of the seas at the height of the British Empire. Her Majesty's yacht, Victoria and Albert II, launched on January 16, 1855, replacing her predecessor, Her Majesty's yacht, Victoria and Albert. Conditions on board this earlier yacht were a little Spartan, as befitted the upright bearing and physical hardiness of Prince Albert. Victoria recorded in her journal on 20th September 1843, when the yacht was still brand new, that she woke up early on the first day of their cruise, there being nothing as proper curtains to keep out the light. Her Majesty's yacht, Victoria and Albert II, on the other hand, was state-of-the-art. She boasted a length of 300 feet and a top design speed of 14.75 knots. The cabins were lined in box-pleated rosebud chintz with doors made from bird's-eye maple with ivory handles. Queen Victoria hoped it would feel like a home from home. She once commented, "It is indeed a most magnificent and enormous vessel. One feels quite lost in her." The Queen used her numerous times, including periodic reviews of the fleet, inspections of ships, and official visits to various UK and continental ports.
After Prince Albert's death in 1861, the yacht was mainly used by Victoria for short trips around the United Kingdom. In 1873, the Shah of Persia, Nasser al-Din Shah Qajar, joined Queen Victoria on board the yacht for a fleet review, the same visit when the Queen appointed him as Knight of the Order of the Garter. By the turn of the century, plans were laid to create a replacement for the yacht, and in 1904 she was broken up and much of the yacht was burned. The yacht's chart case and charts luckily escaped this fate. The case features drop-leaf extensions to allow for easy viewing of the charts inside, and within the glazed arched double doors, the case contains 10 pilots, each stored on its own dedicated shelf, providing detailed charts for navigation from the British Isles. Pilots range from 30 charts, contained in the China pilot, to a mere 14 for that of Africa. We've not been able to identify a maker for the chart case, but when we open the glazed arched doors and look at the lock plate, you can see the imprint Chance & Son, Birmingham.
The Chance family ran a successful business, having both glass and iron factories. The firm had a number of different names, but only appeared to use the name Chance, Son & Co. from 1843 to 1856. The charts in the pilot predate the yacht, but also feature charts updated throughout the 19th century, reflecting the Admiralty's habit to destroy and replace old charts with new ones as soon as they were printed, as it was considered dangerous to keep the old ones. At the end of the 18th century, Great Britain was a dominant naval power, both in Europe and the world. Nevertheless, the Royal Navy relied on the charts of private chart publishers. In a move to centralize efforts, the Admiralty established the Hydrographic Office in 1795, with Alexander Dalrymple serving as the first hydrographer to the Admiralty Board. In 1800, Dalrymple acquired a printing press from the Hydrographic Office and recruited engravers, which enabled him to publish the first Admiralty chart in November 1800, entitled Sketch of the Road in Quiberon Bay, 1800.
Most of the early Admiralty charts that followed were published to aid and support naval operations, beginning with the Mediterranean and subsequently in the North Sea and the Channel. These early charts were based on surveys carried out by naval officers in the course of their normal duties. Francis Beaufort, he of the Beaufort scale of wind, served as hydrographer from 1829 to 1855, the same year the yacht took her first voyage. Under his leadership, Admiralty produced charts that achieved almost worldwide coverage. Until the late 1830s, Admiralty charts were usually identified only by their title, describing the area covered. However, from 1839, each chart was normally assigned a standard Admiralty chart number, printed at the bottom right-hand corner of the sheet. These Admiralty chart numbers became the prime means of uniquely identifying or referencing a particular chart. Here you can see one of the copper plates used by the Admiralty. A good Admiralty chart requires a number of features: speed in executing new and reliable charts, the ability to amend and correct existing knowledge, clearness and sharpness of print, durability of paper, and correctness of scale. Copperplate engraving and printing have long been used in Admiralty chart preparation. First, a drawing is prepared as a guide for the engraver based on the latest surveys and findings. This drawing is transferred to the copperplate by etching these plate lines onto the plate. To print the plate, the surface is covered with ink and carefully wiped off by hand, leaving ink only inside the engraved lines. The paper, which is dampened first, is then laid onto the plate and goes through the press under considerable pressure.
Turning to the charts offered in the Atlas, the Mediterranean pilot provides an insight into one of the greatest civil engineering feats of the 19th century, the construction of the Suez Canal. When it opened in 1869, it reduced the distance from London to the Arabian Gulf from 11,300 nautical miles to just 6,400 nautical miles, and cut the journey time from London to Singapore from 58 to 42 days. Shown here on chart number 233, the canal is drawn based on surveys carried out by the French Navy in 1876 and with soundings taken by HMS Shearwater. The opening of the canal also brought a renewed interest in the Mediterranean, Red, and Arabian Seas. Britain had, during the 19th century, acquired several strategically important islands in the Mediterranean, most notably Malta and Cyprus. The present work contains Captain Graves and Spratt's chart of Malta and Gozo and the Valletta Harbour. It also contains Graves' exceedingly rare chart of Cyprus.
Subsequent to the great successes of Captain Cook's voyages during the second half of the 18th century, the Admiralty became heavily involved with voyages of exploration. The journey of the HMS Beagle, which is now principally remembered for the works of Charles Darwin, was also responsible for several notable surveys, including that of Captain Fitzroy of the Falkland Islands, as well as the first scientific survey of the Straits of Magellan. With the Australian gold rush of the 1850s, the Admiralty began to take a greater interest in waters in the Southern Hemisphere. Captain H.M. Dunham of HMS Herald spent from 1852 to 1860 charting the eastern seas of Australia and covering the Great Barrier Reef and waters as far away as Fiji. He would also be responsible for the third survey of Sydney Harbour in 1857. The charting of waters around the Great Southern Continent would lead to several explorations further south, to the Antarctic. The ice chart, first published in 1866, maps numerous voyages of exploration, including Cook, Bellinghausen, Weddell, Ross, and includes Thomas Towson's work on the icebergs of the Southern Ocean, and other papers from the Hydrographic Office. This magnificent mahogany case and its impressive collection of charts are a rare survival from one of the great yachts of Queen Victoria's reign. The charts are a reflection of power and the expansive reach of both the Admiralty and the British Empire during the 19th century.